Are we going to talk about it? Let's talk about it right now.
Okay, let's do it.
I mean, this will air after...
It'll air Wednesday.
Okay. So, I am buying... This segment of DoD TV is brought to you by Leopold, American to the core.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild Podcast, episode number 238. It's powered by DeerCast.
You're Tim Chelsvik.
And you are, of course, the one and only Matt Drury.
And you are a big boy.
I'm a big boy. You're about to be a big boy.
Tomorrow.
So we've got like the deep tease continues for your big boyness.
Yeah.
and I was figuring we needed something to fill in this week to talk about. Another big boy topic. So I did something.
You did something. And
we'll really dig into it. There's a lot to dig into.
Pretty awesome. I'm excited to talk about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted. Like, it's been a roller coaster, like in a good way of a weekend.
Yeah.
But the short of it is I killed the safe buck.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great footage.
Thank you. So
great shot.
Thank you also. Someone on social.
Great. And I spell this with an 8.
GR. Did I ever tell you about my license plate on my Ford Bronco 2?
No.
When I was in college.
Did it have great in it?
I was a huge Wayne Gretzky fan growing up. The great one. So on my Illinois I wanted an Illinois, it wasn't quite a vanity plate, but it was like a custom plate. And I wanted to say GR81. Apparently, there's a box you need to check if they don't have that available, that they give you some random one.
Great too.
Well, they just go in like, sequence.
You were like 99?
I was 5.
Oh, grade 5.
I was grade 5. So all my friends were like, what's grade 5 mean? Or no, grat 5. What does grat 5 mean?
Great.
So when I saw that guy's post, it just gave me flashbacks to my failed vanity plate back in.
We're talking about the guy that came after me the week before commented on Tim's DeerCast journal, and he used the number 8 in all of his words.
GR8.
It was very interesting.
Caught my eye. For
Me
sure.
Too.
Yeah. So we'll definitely dig into that, and there'll be some B-roll of the hunt that we'll share. But we got some new members in the Rack Pack.
Well, let's talk about it, Tim.
Let's do.
All right. So we are welcoming today Brian Miller, Paul Kaiser, Todd Powell, Laser McPunch. You might as well Laserface McPunch. I can never get these right.
I don't know why you laugh at people's names. These could be real people.
I laugh because I get it wrong every time.
Lord Drinkwater.
It should have been
Dinkwater.
Laser Punch McFace. All right.
Well, that's his heritage.
Steve Isaacs, Cody Mountain. He's a mountain of a man.
That's a cool
Josh
name.
Dimmitt. Yeah, that is a cool name.
Yeah. So if you're new to the show, there's always one of these individuals who is made up. And the fun is just guessing who it might be.
Whoever's name I screw up.
That could be.
And if you want to know how we're getting these names, all you got to do is go over to Facebook, in the search bar, type in 100% Wild Rack Pack. And then I
hope nothing else comes up. It should just be us.
Man. It could be real bad.
Right. I joined and I start seeing all kinds of things I didn't sign up for.
Could be real good.
Well, that's true.
That's what she said.
We also need to thank Allboy79, who left us a 5-star Apple Podcast rating, and he titles it Uplifting. Says, I have an hour drive to my hunting spot, and I love listening to the guys on my way in. Matt's description of his struggle this season makes me feel less bummed about my crap season. Keep up the good work.
Glad I can entertain you people.
and that's kind of been something you and I have talked about since the very beginning. Is like, we can't pretend to be something we're not. We'll never be Mark Drury. We'll never be Terry Drury.
We'll never be great with an 8 hunters.
No, we'll be okay. And so, like, let's just be honest about the ups and the downs. And, people will either relate to that or not.
I'll be honest. I was getting a little cocky going into this season because I thought I figured this thing out. And then we go to Kansas, we make some moves, we get on a buck, and then I got humbled real quick.
Yes. Well, after I killed my saddle buck, I was like, well, anyone need any deer hunting advice? Because I know what I'm doing. And then I had a major failure on the safe buck, and it just makes you question your entire existence.
Knock you down a peg or two.
Yeah, which is probably good. Like it's pride come before the fall kind of thing.
Yeah. Reality is we suck.
Yes. Yeah.
We got lots to learn, Tim.
My dad would say, like, even the sun shines on a dog's butt every now and again or something along those lines. And so sometimes it happens.
But you don't say that.
Broken clock is right twice a day.
You know what it was? I got too comfortable and I started to get fancy.
That's what happened. That's really what
Kind of
happened.
happened with me on my second encounter with this deer.
Yeah.
So 140-inch suburban Missouri whitetail buck.
All right. I asked you this morning, how many acres?
9.
9 acres.
And there's a house on the property. So huntably, probably 8.
Is that the house? Is that the piece that you killed on a few years back where you see the house? Like it, I feel like in the edit, that's a different piece.
Yeah.
Okay.
Different location.
Yep.
It's my friend Barb and David's house.
Oh, Barbsy.
And she's and so like I got a lot of people that texted me this deer season because the Missouri Department of Conservation used an image of me at full draw for the top of their deer hunting permit page.
And Scott took the image, right?
He did not. David Stoner, who is an MDC photographer.
Well, could have just went along with it.
Same stratosphere of photographers.
Okay.
It's at that property. I've hunted for a lot of years. I've taken a few good bucks off of it. But this year it was a great like travel corridor. And I every now and again see a great deer coming through, but they would never stay. And so this summer we put in a lot of time and effort to cut out a bunch of hawthorn and bush honeysuckle and just a bunch of crap, poison ivy that had been growing back there, a lot of vining plants. And we put in about a 3/4 acre food plot with mossy oak biologic hotspot. A lot of lime, a lot of fertilizer, carrying all this stuff in by hand over the shoulder because you can't get a UTV back there. You can't you couldn't even get a tiller back there. So it was a lot of manual labor and chainsawing things down.
Well, how did you break up which hotspot you don't need to, right? You can.
They suggest it's optimal if you can. But we got this little like a garden weasel style tiller back there, and I was like bouncing off of concrete. It would just go and bounce around and get tangled up in vines. It was pointless.
Yeah.
So the hotspot has some deer radish in it. And the thinking is like a few years of that, and that may break up the soil a little bit on its own.
Yeah.
So right now it's just it's hard packed.
And that hotspot, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it made for areas where you might have like foliage, but like don't have a ton of sunlight coming through?
Yeah. They say like 3 to 4 hours of sunlight is pretty much all it needs.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much true. And so like we're in the green revisited stage and phase. And I didn't want to go out and hunt. We were just coming off of traveling for the Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah.
It was going to be 20 degrees Friday morning.
It was chilly.
I was going to be in a tree stand, and I just,
it
just was not going to be the most comfortable thing. And, I was still licking my wounds from my previous encounters with him.
So you sat that spot since you missed him?
I don't think so.
So you let it cool off. That's been a couple weeks.
Yeah. And I know that morning hunts are not something that, are typically advised for this particular phase, but it's, it's kind of like what we say with DeerCast. Like we're not asking people to turn their brains off. I had MRI of him in the mornings, over there. So I was like,
plus you're in his bedding. I mean, that's basically, you're right.
He's close.
Near.
He's close in there somewhere.
And I think when Mark and Terry talk about that, they transition back to hunting food source a lot, which your food source is in the bedding. So, more or less it's in the bedroom. So I think, like you said, you gotta use your brain a little bit and know, all right, what is this deer doing? What's my setup? These are generalities that these guys are talking about.
Yeah. They're principles. And that's part of the fun of it is like taking what like the best practices practices and then customizing them to your, how you need to hunt.
Yeah.
But got in the stand and got set up and I filmed a little more than I normally do. Like you get to this point in the season and you're just like, I don't want to film anything because I'm self-filming. It's a hassle. Just taking your hands out of your coat pockets is a hassle because it's so darn cold. But I had a wacky rack buck come through early on and then a doe and her 2 yearlings and then her like a spike that was with her. And then about 7:15, I saw, normally you can't see this far earlier in the year, but because the canopy and the foliage was down, I could see to the far ridge over there. And it's probably, I don't know, 150, 200 yards. I could see a deer moving. And so I turned the camera on. I was like, oh, there's a deer over there. Don't know who it is, but there's a deer moving. And last year, to better kind of funnel the deer, Jeremy Kerber and I went out there and we kind of created a highway east to west of the property to at least be able to better
just
focus
cleared
them.
Out.
Yeah.
A path.
Because they would kind of meander through and it was so thick. The shot lanes were just really difficult. And he was on that little highway that we made. And I was thinking, crap, whoever he is, he's just going to just go below the plot, bypass me altogether. And I should have brought my saddle and just set up lower. It's like, it's playing whack-a-mole. You never know where they're going to pop up. And there's a main trail that comes off that primary east to west trail into the plot. And that's what I walked in to get there that morning. And I'd covered a little bit of that little highway, but I'd put nose jammer wax stick on my boot. Yeah. Because this deer covered probably 20 yards of the same trail that I covered.
Kind of had his nose down too.
Yeah, and didn't seem to be concerned. No. So I saw him at the intersection of the east to west.
He probably thought, oh, this guy's back.
This guy's harmless.
I'm safe.
He can't touch me. I got a force field around me. But I saw him cross that intersection just down below me. And I still couldn't tell who it was. I was like, it's a deer. I filmed him a little bit. I could see movement down there.
I know it's a deer.
That's all I got. I mean, out there, it could be a dog, could be a hiker, could be a big raccoon. Who knows? Yeah. And so I stopped filming and I'm just standing there and then I see like there's kind of a secondary trail that's not used very often, but for some reason he decided to take it and it's real thick, bunch of but it's dark, but I saw movement. I'm like, oh, that's a rack buck. So I better start turning all the things on. And at this point in the season, I don't have much cover. Yeah. Like that tree stand is right on the edge of the plot. And there's really not much behind me. Yeah. So I'm very cautious about movement and moving real slow and watching this guy. And when he steps out a little bit from the wood line, I could see I see those G2s and I knew immediately that's the safe buck. Yeah. And my heart just kind of goes into this next gear of, oh my gosh, he showed up. This could happen. And my mind is thinking, how do I not screw this up? Like what things can I avoid doing as he's approaching? I don't know where he's going to come. He starts moving directly towards me. Yeah. Like on a beeline, which you think is great, but it's like too much of a good thing can be not a good thing. Yeah. Cause as he continues to walk towards me, I'm like, I don't think he's going to turn. I think he may end up right below me. And I've got the big camera going and it's kind of aimed kind of towards the center. Like he might walk out of frame. I may not get a shot on him. This may be,
here we go
he
again.
May handcuff me. Yeah. And there was a moment where I had to step out of my body and kind of have a sense of humor, like laugh at myself a little bit. And that gave me a little bit of objectivity, took me out of the kind of the frenetic mental gymnastics that were going on. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to do what I know to do here. And thankfully I had turned on the little point of view camera above me, which was like, all these things are a gamble. Like any movement I feel like is a gamble, but it's like, I want there to be good footage. Yeah. Like I'd like this to be well documented. Yeah. Making this little move, is this going to cost me the hunt? But it would be really cool to have the angle. Yeah. So I got most of the cameras turned on and he just started on his way in. The one thing I wasn't thinking about during this time was the decision I made as I approached the stand that morning to not take the card out of the Reconyx camera that was there on the plot. And I'm really glad I didn't.
Yeah, I mentioned this morning when we came in, I said, man, that footage of him walking through on your Reconyx your Hyperfire picked up HD footage of him walking across the plot real close, like close footage. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. And that's not fake. Like that is his last stand as he's walking in, and you actually see like he's half in frame, half out. You see his butt. You see the arrow hit the ground as it zips through him. But it was just like, it's surreal. Like anytime I have a buck in front of me and I'm going to shoot it, there's just a different kind of aura about it. Like you go into predator mode and it's so, because I don't remember executing the shot. I just remember him getting close. And you'd asked me this morning, what was your thought process around not stopping him? Because he was
walking at a decent clip. I mean, he was kind of head down and he was going somewhere.
Yeah. Which that too is crazy because he was downwind of me. Like the wind was going, it was kind of out of the northeast.
Yeah.
And so it was blowing directly the direction he was walking up. And the only thing I can attribute, there's a couple of things I can attribute there. One, that stand is set so high and I've got thermals working for me in the morning. So I think he was underneath my scent profile, but also like I showered that morning. I showered in the nose jammer stuff. I scent crushed all my stuff. I put nose jammer on my boots. I got dressed at the truck, which is not fun in 20 degrees, but like you do all
your
the
regimen
things
that you've done all year, it paid off.
Yeah. And the regiment that you want to start skimping on when it gets to this far in the season, because you've done it so much and you just don't think like anything's going to show up. So he was in my scent profile. And so that also is in the back of my mind. I'm thinking,
you're feeling it on your neck a little bit, the breeze.
Yeah. At any moment he could stop, whip his head up and be gone. But he probably gets down to about 10 yards and starts cutting. And there's not really a trail there through, like, it's a lot of crap that we tore off the plot and just piled up on the side.
Yeah.
But he was apparently going to go through it. And so he's probably at like 10 yards or so. And I come to full draw, and I just remember kind of having him in my sight picture.
Were you at full draw for very long?
No.
Yeah.
No. Because he didn't turn. Like I didn't want to be at full draw and just even be tempted to make a bad shot, to have him in my sights, but not have him lined up the way.
But
I
you weren't
him.
rushed.
I don't know. Like
I find myself in that instance sometimes rushing if I draw and shoot so quickly. It's like, wait a second, what pin did I have? Which now I'm shooting an HHA single pin, so it doesn't matter. But back in the day, it's like, all right, shoot, what did I do? What pin? What was it? What's the situations? That's why I asked about your kind of line of thinking through all that, because it seemed like it was all happening fast.
I tend to make my best shots when I don't have much time to sit and think. And case in point, my second encounter with him when he was behind that tree and I was just standing there at full draw, I was like, maybe I can do this, and I just rushed it. Yeah. So I did not stop him. He was so close, and we had a hunt with Coondog a couple weeks back where he had a buck. He was hunting on the ground. He had a buck walk in front of him, and and the deer just ran. Yeah. Which is not something they normally do. Normally they stop and they look.
But you are right on top of that deer.
Yeah. And I was like, the equation is working. He's coming where he needs to come, and he's close enough. I don't want to add anything else into this equation that may cause him to bolt. Yeah. Probably 9 times out of 10, he would stop, and it would have been cool to have him, see his rack turn and look up and everything. But I just needed to get the shot.
I could see that working against you in that scenario. So close. I'm sure it was quiet as could be. You'd have to be pretty soft and and in the excitement. Usually I'm too loud anyways. So I could see that spooking them. And I mean that gnarly deer that I killed a few years ago at Dad's, same scenario. I didn't stop him. He walked 7 yards below us, and I just waited for the right angle, basically. But he was just walking, and he was so close. It's almost like, all right, here it is.
Yeah. And you just don't want to do anything else that's going to change their trajectory. So hindsight's always 20/20. It's like, oh, it would have been cool to have a little more, like a few seconds of him just standing there. But I just had so many close calls before. Wasn't going to do it.
All's well that ends well.
Yeah. Because I hit him, and because the angle was so steep, the shot looks pretty high, but I got both lungs.
Awesome.
And I think I clipped liver also. And he
Trying to think, he was pretty broadside to you, wasn't he?
he was mostly broadside, a slight quartering too.
Yeah.
So it would have been nice, maybe to let him take another step or two. But then I've got the camera arm right here, and I don't want to. There's just a lot of.
That's a good point about your angle, and he's so close, and you're so high up. The way you explain this tree stand, I mean, even that when they're close like that, and you're higher up, even that's not great for vitals. I mean,
No.
you see, obviously perfect placement and getting what you got.
Yeah. And you think about, like, if you go lower, you just have less body for the arrow to go through, so you don't get the same kind of surface area that you're disrupting inside. But so I take the shot and I hear it hit, and I see he donkey kicks, like major donkey kick, which you think about that for a heart shot deer, but not usually a double lung. And he tore off running, and you never know what a deer is going to do after they're hit, because you don't like. I didn't know exactly where I hit him, how good the hit was or anything. But so I hit him, and I go grab the camera arm and kind of point it in the direction to try to get him running away, and he tears off to probably 40 yards and just stops. And I'm like, just go down, please, God, go down. And he kind of stumbles forward and then falls down, rolls a little bit, gets back up and starts running at me. Yeah. And I thought, oh my gosh, he may come back to me. And he got up again, got woozy, and then tipped over. Yeah. I don't know, it was probably 15 seconds between shot and him going down.
And what's cool is you get to see all of it. It's all on camera. You get to see all of it. And because of the foliage this time of year, pretty much unobstructed.
Yeah. And I don't think, the previous two encounters I'd had with him, I would not have gotten all the angles, and it just it needed to happen in this fashion, and
worked out.
It really did. And I it's not a dignified post kill reaction. I look like I'm insane, partially because I am, but I was so elated and in disbelief, and so that deer represents so much work and effort and teamwork. I had so many friends that came out to help me with that plot and hang in stands, and I had so many pictures of him and so many close calls, and my family had done done without me for while I was out hunting, and
some positives in the story.
It's like, oh, Daddy's gone. Good. We can finally have a good time around here. But there's just so much wrapped up into that deer. And I think that's the first deer that I've actually had a real history with.
I was going to ask you that. If that's the first one where it was a battle, a couple years history, a battle, something you were really putting a plan in place for a deer.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, I feel like a big boy now. Yeah. I've watched this.
It's catching on.
It really, we're all getting
hashtag
big.
I'm a big boy.
I love it. So, to have the kind of pictures and video I've had of him, because he was a good looking deer last year.
He was.
And he just got better this year.
Did you get the sheds off that deer?
No. I was all over that property.
Yeah.
And
again, it's 9 acres.
But it's so thick. It's they could be in front of you and you wouldn't know it.
Well, and he lived on the neighbors most of the time, right?
He did not bed there. There were some does that bedded there, but his bedroom was close. Yeah. It's just, suburbia is such a weird deal. But man, going over to, I was so excited, but I kind of had this tradition. I love to see the arrow. I make myself go see the arrow. And even if I know where the deer went down, I love to blood trail, especially on a killer blood trail.
A lot to learn from it,
Yeah, exactly. And it's just gratifying to me. I did that. I caused that to happen. I think it's partially because I've had so many crappy blood trails over the years that it's nice to enjoy a really good, strong one that's not a mystery. But I keep shooting the Rage Trypan. I just,
a lot of people love that head, and I know that Mark basically switched to it as well.
Really?
He's shooting it quite a bit. Yeah.
something about that like needle point entry that just seems to.
That thing looks mean.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it'll hurt you.
Yeah, and it's done great on turkeys too, and so yeah, I was just super happy with the wound, and it was a full pass through. I mean, really great blood from the very start.
Yeah.
So that's the safe buck, and afterwards I was like, I hope all the cameras were running.
Yeah.
You hope you didn't screw it up, and
a lot of levels of difficulty there when you're doing it on your own and you know, trying to get it all. I mean, it's hard to make this stuff happen with a camera person controlling and more worried about that one thing, much less to worry about the hunting and the camera side. That's pretty tough.
I was starting to wonder if I needed to institute kind of a personal rule that I would not hunt that deer without a camera guy.
Yeah.
Because I felt like there was so much movement and so many things I had to do that maybe that was holding me back. And I needed to just be a little more patient and wait till I had someone go with me.
You know, an angle that I think would benefit you. I've been watching, so Michael Hunsucker from Heartland Bowhunter, his Instagram stories, he does this all the time. And I don't know if he's putting, like, say, you know, the Leupold bino holder?
Yeah.
Like, it's got a little pocket on the front. I don't know if he's putting his cell phone in there or if it's a GoPro. I kind of feel like it's a cell phone.
That'd be cool.
But you get every angle and you get it right down the pipe of when he's shooting his bow. It is a really cool angle. So that might be something that, it's like one additional thing, but
it wouldn't be hard to just reach up and
exactly. It's like a
it.
fail safe.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that is the nice thing about having like the Tacticams going and stuff, because if you don't happen to catch it, like I'll put a Tacticam up on the backside of the tree just so that I can catch something maybe approaching from a side that I just didn't anticipate necessarily.
Yeah.
So then it was like calling Beth, letting her know, hey, this deer of legend in our household is finally.
Did she care?
Fall down. She cares in the sense that she knows it's been important to me.
Yeah.
And that it's my second Missouri buck tag.
Yeah.
So she's happy for me. She's like, hey, we get one. She actually really likes venison.
Yeah.
So she's excited. She's like, oh, that's a buck. It's a lot of meat coming into the deep freezer. But she doesn't care about the rack, like the kill, how it all went down, none of that stuff.
Yeah. That's where your calls to your friends come in.
Exactly. And that's a huge part of the fun. Jeremy Kerber came out, and my buddy Josiah came out, and so they helped me with pictures and everything. Because there's some things like self-filming, I can do that, but to take decent pictures to do the deer justice, it's next to impossible to do.
Yeah, you guys have had a heck of a season as a whole, your whole group out there, whether it was the public land hunting that they've done, or I know Jeremy and his boys have had some luck there and their pieces, and that's awesome.
Well, and that was part of my goal early on in the season was to try to do more with friends and try to enjoy the ride a little more as opposed to making it a death march all the way through. I'm gonna make this happen, and so far it's just been a lot of fun. And so like it's been a really great season tag wise, but more so it's just been a very like personally satisfying season.
Good.
And the other crazy thing is I still got a Missouri archery antler or either sex tag I can use.
Yeah.
So I could potentially kill a third buck.
Will you though?
I mean,
not saying you can't. I'm saying, will that be your focus? Or I know, Sophie and,
it's kind of like a secondary thing right now. Sophie was wanting to go out last night and then changed her mind last minute. So I was like, well, I got the time. I'll go out and I'll just kind of sit and see. But I feel very, very little pressure. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, there's nothing. I mean, if you want a little more meat, kill a doe. There's no necessarily, you've killed two great bucks and two great scenarios. So at this point, it's like, hey, I'm on easy street.
Yeah. What I
have to be like the right scenario.
Yeah. And what I'm thinking about doing is I would like to film a hunt from the ground.
Yeah.
I don't think I've done that. Like, and not being a blind. Like I've got this stack of cedars that the deer travel in, and it's so, up close and personal. If I could pull something off in there on the ground, like eye to eye, that would be.
Even doing that to kill a doe would be cool.
Yeah. And there's
same property or different piece?
This would be a different piece.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the safe buck is down. He's no longer safe. And in fact, you might pick up on this in some of like the pre-hunt conversation I was having on film, I started to stop using the term safe buck because I was afraid that we were creating a self-fulfilling prophecy on this deer and making him more of a legend and creating something that didn't need to be there. And
what'd you just say? This buck?
I was thinking about calling him Gerald or something. I started calling him my target buck.
Yeah, smart.
But I did interchange it with the safe buck because I don't want to I don't know. It seems a little woo-woo to think like a name would change the behavior of the deer.
It's all about good mojo, right? And you got to have when things are going not your way, you want anything to switch it up to go your way. Ball players, whatever, the professional athletes,
big time.
It's just, I don't know. It's a thing.
And just the confidence, what calling something does to your confidence and the aura around that particular thing, whatever it is, that makes a difference in how you approach it.
Should have just said the not safe buck.
It's your name.
I'm sorry I did that to you. But when we were texting after it and you said something like, finally, I go, hey, just made for a better story.
Big time. It was just mentally and emotionally exhausting.
Yeah.
I just feel so good right now.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And
it's a good feeling because it doesn't mean anything to anybody else. Here's the reality of it. It means nothing to anybody
that
other
one guy
than
that thought it was great.
Other than that guy that thought it was great. But everybody's happy for you, and I think I touched on this on another podcast. It's the reality of it is life goes on that next morning.
It's an Instagram post. Someone scrolls through hey, that's cool.
Cool. Tim got on a deer. Great deer, and that's it. And so you have to make it about how you feel about it. It's got to be about, and it really, that goes back to the size of deer and, shouldn't do it for anybody else because the reality is nobody gives a crap about it when it's done. Yeah. So if it made you feel good, then you should be proud of it. Mm-hmm. And that deer, you then add on top of it, he was a hell of a buck and you had all this history, even better.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. So he's at the taxidermist now, shoulder mount. I haven't done a shoulder mount in probably 5 years. Yeah. I think my Ozarks buck down at Devil's Backbone was the last deer that I got shoulder mounted.
Nice.
I got a lot of euros. But it's this deer, the history, the context, it just makes sense.
Absolutely.
So 10 to 12 months, I'll have him back.
I saw him, basically had him for a day.
Yeah. Well,
isn't that crazy?
Well, Chance came by at 2 a.m. this morning. They're traveling back from Wisconsin, and Scenic Rivers Taxidermy is who's doing the work. They're down in Salem, Missouri. And I was like, man, how am I going to get this deer done? It's a 2 or 3 hour drive for me.
Yeah.
And so they stopped by on their way down from Green Bay early at 2:00 this morning, got the deer head. I'm saying this on air just so that other people know he has it in case I don't get it back.
I thought it was to make up for the fact that you took his wife hunting and got her a buck.
I'll be taking this. Thank you very much.
All right, I got a new mount for the lodge.
Kill the Devil's Backbone Outfitters.
That's right.
You're lying. So those guys did a really nice job though with my Ozarks buck. And I've seen some examples of some kind of sketchy taxidermy.
Honestly, that's something where it's kind of getting harder to find because if there's a good one, they're busy. And it takes a long time.
And you're going to pay something for it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind that part because these guys are doing the work. Yep. You know what I mean? It's as long as they're not price gouging you. I mean, I don't mind. Look, I'm not going to say the name of where I used to go, but this guy was price gouging at the end of his career and the work was subpar at best. Yeah. And I mean, I think I've shown you, but looks like somebody, I had a zipper down the back of both.
Yeah, that was deer, crazy.
And it took forever to get them. And I paid out the butt for them. It's all right, so this guy's not doing them anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's just finding a good guy, it's you better be ready to pay. You better be ready to wait. And those are the kind of two things. I think everybody's kind of used to that at this point.
Yeah. And it's tempting. Like there are some cut rate guys out there that maybe do it on the side and they don't have the best practices but you could save a lot of money, but you may end up paying for it in the long run.
Yeah.
And
it's supposed to be forever, right? So
you want to look like I hope, like I hope that my mounts will end up in my kids' homes someday and they'll be able to tell the story and download the link to the hologram in their brain, watch their dad kill that deer on video.
Maybe it's at their hunting cabin on their hunting property.
I like that.
They've
been inviting their dad to come hunt for
years. There you go.
So yeah, it's an end of a chapter, and I just can't believe, like, we have so many pictures and so many videos of him, trail camera pictures.
Here's the thing, and now you're gonna wake up and you're not gonna be checking the cards for him no more. Like, this is gone, it's done. That's a weird thought about feeling. It's like a weird feeling to be like, dang, now what?
I have had the thought, like, now what? But I had not thought about, like, I kind of miss him not being out there.
Yeah, because I mean, the few deer that I was after this year, like all of them except for 2 are no longer showing up on camera.
Right.
It's like, wah, wah. I look at it and there's a bunch of spikes and, does. And every once in a while, the, 2 deer that are still on the property are showing up and it's like, oh, hey, there he is, and
sure.
On one really, really good deer, and hopefully he left for basically all of gun season and we thought, oh man, he's toast. And then he showed up last night. This morning rather. So hopefully we'll be able to
some hope.
Yeah. I mean, you hear people say, I'm on a big one. I'm not on this deer. It'll be, he's never, hardly ever on this property, and we've never seen him. It's one of those deals where you hear a guy say, yeah, I got a trail camera picture of a really nice buck. It's like, oh, okay, but are you on that deer? No, I am not on this deer. So.
And that's one of the lessons I've learned from the safe buck is that until that deer is dead and in your pickup truck, he's not yours.
No.
And you may think, like,
at least the odds are in your favor. Like, you had plenty of daylight videos and you know what I mean? Like, you had a lot of sightings. You were in his core. It was just a cat and mouse game.
Yep.
So I would say that, like, the way I look at it, you were on that buck.
I was on him.
If you've never seen the deer and you've only had pictures of him at night, you're not on that deer.
Yeah. And believe me, I get pictures from friends who are like, hey, check this out. And it's like all these great deer. It's like, okay, let me know when you kill them.
Yeah.
Because right now you're a great wildlife photographer.
Now, a guy like Mark, when he gets a picture and it's a nighttime picture, I'm like, well, he's going to kill that deer tomorrow.
Yeah, that deer is in trouble.
Yeah,
for sure.
But the rest of us, I'm like, all right.
And in suburbia, like, he could have been hit by a car. He could have been
chased by a dog.
Yeah. I mean, and people can rifle hunt in that part of West St. Louis County.
Wow.
Yeah.
That seems dangerous.
Yeah. But
take
they
the
can.
old 6.8 out there, shoot 1,000 yards.
Right. Yeah. Across your 3-acre property.
Yeah. Weird.
So like every time I saw him on camera, it was a little bit of a relief that, okay, he didn't get hit.
Yeah.
Someone else did. And there are other bow hunters around, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, sure.
So yeah, it's still hard to believe.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's one to be proud of for a long time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So that hunt is over in DeerCast, filtered by journals, and you can find it, and then it'll end up being a Dream Season live episode sometime in the next couple of weeks here. So just
pretty cool.
A lot of footage to rip through.
Yeah. Which the DeerCast, what's in there now? It's, I mean, a few, how long?
7.5
8 minutes. Yeah. So quick hunt, and it's worth watching. That him coming through that plot, like, it amazed me. Like, just not a care in the world, just walking through. And then when I saw the Reconics video pop up, I'm like, whoa, that is awesome. Really cool.
You got all kinds of angles on this guy.
Yeah.
He deserved it.
Yeah.
He was a really good deer.
So,
well, speaking of deserving individuals, Clinton Manning has a question for us.
All right. Well, let's do it. Question of the day is brought to you by the Sportsman's Channel, your home for everything red, wild, and blue, and the home of Winchester and Drury's Natural Born. New episodes getting ready to start
Can't wait.
into December.
Sweet.
So, yeah, that's exciting. I've proofed all of them several times.
It's kind of exciting to me to hear the turkey hunts.
Yeah. I mean, so usually almost every episode has a turkey hunt in it.
I
But
like that.
not all of them, but there's so much. I mean, hell, there's usually 2 or 3 kills, whitetail kills. And that's an entertaining show because it's no frills. Like it's a lot of action throughout from start to finish.
No farting around.
Yeah. There you go.
Fiddle farting around. The farting around happens here.
Okay. All right. So let's hear what Clinton has to say.
Hey Matt and Tim, my name is Clinton Manning and I'm from Eastern Iowa. I just purchased my first farm this summer at age 21. It's 10 acres, all wooded with big timber surrounding, and it is landlocked. My only access is about a half-mile walk to the west side. My question is, how can I better my access to the middle and far end of my farm without busting out everything in the process? Thank you.
Where was he doing this? I think he's at work.
He was flying a helicopter.
It sounded like he was on like a dock or.
That's where he was landing it.
Yes. Okay.
First off, he's 21 years old, just bought a 10-acre piece of ground. How cool is that?
Pretty cool.
That guy's got his priorities straight.
He's a big boy.
He really is. No kidding. And so like 10 acres, but it's landlocked. So he's got like probably an easement or something that he's using to get in there. And he's just trying to figure out how because it's mostly timber, it sounds like.
10 acres, and as you've proven, you can do a lot with 10 acres. Yeah. The concern would be busting them out. So I would look to see if there's a way to access it from the south side. So you're hunting it predominantly northerly, northwest, west, like those types. Yeah. So that I'd look at that first, but maybe the scenario is deer bedded on the south side. So you got to think about if he knows where the bedding at, and a good time to look at that would be like shed season to kind of go through there, or if it just snowed to kind of understand where the deer tracks are, where they're living, and then kind of put your game plan together, because you're not going to shift where they're bedded unless you're doing some TSI, which those are all things that you can do and change it a little bit. But if they're in there and they're living there already, figure out where they're at. That's what I would do. And then I'd figure out my game plan of what winds I would need to hunt the deer and plan my access based on that. Yeah. Now, he may not be able to, I don't know if his easement, if his easement comes in at the southwest corner, or, there's those factors that you got to figure out. But certainly I'd first look to see where the deer kind of bed, if they're bedded in there, and make my plan kind of around that. Yeah. Are they headed to a destination food source on a neighboring property, or, because you might be able to catch them, and there's might be a funnel of sorts or a pinch point or, and so I'd base everything off of where they're coming and going to and start there. That's what I would do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was initially my thought was like, you got to figure out what their patterns are, like what's around, what the neighbors have. And then like, can you get additional access on different sides to give you a little bit of flexibility based on the wind or what you find out that they're doing? But like, you just have to have some intel before you go too far in.
Some of those things take a few years to figure it out. I mean, I had hunted the Ellsbury lease for a long time, and there was a very good spot that I thought this would be a great spot for a morning hunt. Always got pictures of bucks during the rut, kind of dog and does through there. We hung a stand. We sat there a few times. I got busted every time getting in, and we felt like we had a pretty smooth way in, but they were bedded right there. We just weren't beating them back to bed even that early in the morning. So sometimes you just can't. There's some things you just can't do without screwing the spot up. So you got to, we've never hunted there since. I got busted 2 or 3 times. I'm like, all right, this is not worth the intrusion. And hell, I felt like I was kind of on the outskirts where the spot was, and they were always right there,
Yeah. And I don't remember where I was having this conversation at, but some rifle hunters were, maybe it was in the Rack Pack. There was a guy talking about gun hunting and wondering like, what, if anything, he should do for scent management. And it's like, it never hurts to do more personal scent management. So you do everything you can to limit intrusion, including your scent profile. It's only going to help. Yeah. So just
don't let them know you're there, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but congratulations on your first piece of ground, man. That's awesome.
And a good segue.
It really is. I should also say, Clinton, reach out to me and we'll get you a DeerCast hat. For
The best part.
That's right. And it may be a new one.
Oh,
Yeah.
are they in?
I don't know.
I don't either. I order this stuff.
If we don't have a DeerCast hat, we'll send you 30 DVDs. How do you like that?
We just ran a sale, a Black Friday sale over the whole weekend, and sold a lot of DVDs.
It's crazy. Like people keep kind of making fun of DVDs, but people keep wanting them.
Yeah.
So they're not 100% outmoded yet.
Crazy.
Yeah. a lot of deer camp collections, I think.
All right.
Okay. The wildlife word. It's brought to you by the Stanley Sportsman series of insulated mugs. Cheers.
Cheers. It's knocked.
There we go.
Got knocked silly. Cheers
To the safe buck.
to the safe.
He
buck.
did.
He gone.
The perfect gift idea for the outdoorsman in your life.
And this is about the perfect stocking stuffer size.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great size for taking like a drink with you in the stand. It's my go-to. Actually, a new guy at church saw me with that yesterday.
A new guy.
A new guy and his wife. He's like, "Hey, cool mug there. You hunt?" And then like he's actually a fan of Mark and Drury, has been a Drury Outdoors fan for years.
That's cool.
And I was like, I never heard of those guys.
I do not know them.
I'm not associated with them. No, but it's cool like that you make connections with people just based
Absolutely.
on camo. Okay, so we're going to talk about orders. Whitetail deer belong to the order of Ungulata, commonly referred to as the ungulates. What body feature puts whitetail deer in this classification of animals? Is it A, lack of a discernible butt, i.e. Hank Hill? B, odd number of eyelashes? C, a long nose? Or D, the presence of hooves?
It's either C or D, obviously. Let's see.
That deer's got no butt.
I'm going with D.
Your gut serves you well.
It's big.
Presence,
Getting bigger.
big boy. Yeah, presence of hooves. So they're different. Like they're split hooves, even hooves, odd hooves, single hooves. Like though, that's kind of how they break out this order of ungulates.
Now we know.
Yeah,
We
check it
needed
out.
that. The more you know
Do
sound.
do. I do my own stunts.
There you go.
Yeah, boy. Well, so next week you are officially Big Boy.
Yep.
Big Boy Matthew Drury. I'll have to call you Matthew.
Yes,
To
sir.
be big.
Are we going to talk about it? Let's talk about it right now.
Okay, let's do it.
I mean, this will air after.
It'll air Wednesday.
Okay. So I am buying a farm. 102 acres.
Woo!
It's got a house on it. It's got a shed on it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm a big boy.
You're gonna be able to hunt your own ground.
Yeah. I don't know. It may be a couple years till it's really got something on it that I'm chasing, but
Sure.
it's got 40 acres of tillable, 60 acres of, timber. And
Okay.
It's a
Sweet.
It's got an 1.5 acre pond on it, real pretty pond right in front of the
Nice.
house. Like it's exciting, but very nerve wracking. Like I am fixing to write a check that hopefully my butt can cash starting tomorrow.
Yes. Well, congratulations. I know that's a big step, and that's not just you. That's Miranda being on board and organizing all the resources. And,
Yeah. Some sacrifices are going to be made, and and it's one of those deals where I was talking to Dad about it. I was like, man, I just don't know if I can swing it, and he's like, the first one I didn't know either. You're never going to be sure. And he goes, once you do it, and it's not like I'm going crazy and really overextending myself. Like I'm at the edge.
Sure.
And he's like, you're never going to be in a good spot you just got to do it. And he goes, once you get used to it, he goes, you won't, you know what I mean? It won't feel like such a heavy burden.
Yeah.
But
you live with it.
But once I signed the prep work to decide to buy it, then to sign the contract, like there was a few weeks there where just felt like a heavy weight like nauseous kind of like, am I doing this? Am I doing this?
I would feel the same.
Yeah. And so I'm excited. I'm the most excited of my family.
What do the kids know?
Yeah, I've been talking about it with them, and they haven't gone and checked it out yet. Miranda came and saw it with me, and before I signed the contract on it, and I've been talking about it a lot with them because Lola, kind of a running joke. Like I drop Cameron off in the mornings, and then I go to drop Lola off, and when we're in the truck together, I'm always like, now what should we do? And one day I said, should we go hunting? And she's like, yeah, and she's a real character. And so, like even this morning I go, now what? And she's like, should we go hunting? And I was like, yes, but I go, next year, I'm not saying I won't take her yet this year. I don't know. I'll have the opportunity, but I go next year, we'll have a farm where you can spend the night at a house,
That's cool.
And we can go to the farm. We can fish. Like I'm trying to, they're just not getting enough. They're not getting enough, rural
country life
interaction. Yeah. And as much as I would love for them to have it, we're nowhere near that right now. Mm-hmm. And either I got to drive an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and 5 minutes or,
with kids, like that's such a hassle.
It is a little bit. But I'm very cognizant of the fact that if I don't present the opportunity for them, they can't ever experience it,
Yeah.
And I got him in Cub Scouts and we're trying to do things, there's certain things that we get to do there and hikes and this and that. Mm-hmm. And I want the same for her. So in general, like a big part of my decision-making was if I don't ever do this, it's one thing, like I partnered up with Dad and a very minority partner and we had a couple pieces together, but that was just recreational hunting ground. Yeah. No, house on or nowhere to stay or anything like that. So it was never anything that they would be able to go with me and really spend time. This is a space where we can go as a family and we can spend weekends and we can, and have extended periods of time where we get to enjoy the outdoors. And that was as much of a factor as our future financially and an investment and what we do for a living. Obviously it was as much about that as it was about the kids and getting them these experiences that if I don't make the effort, they're not going to get otherwise. Yeah. And so I made the plunge and so, we'll take it from here. We'll see. Like it's got some history that the owner before the owner that owns it now, had some decent deer history on it, some turkeys on it. And the one that has it now, he loved hunting, but it was probably a little different style of hunting than, it's kind of whatever he could get in front of him was going to go down, which is fine, but we're going to try to get in there and manage it for some age class. And I even thought, maybe by next year it might be ready. Cameron might be ready. He'll be 8. He might be ready to actually, hunt. And, I know plenty of people take their kids at 6, 7, 8, whatever, but because he hadn't had these experiences, I always felt like he wasn't ready for it yet. And now maybe it'll be a different story. So,
boy, it'd be cool if he took his first deer on your ground.
Yeah, it'd be even cooler if he took the first deer on that ground. Yeah. So that's a long ways out from today, and but I'm excited. I'm nervous, but there's a lot that we're going to do to the property, not only from the hunting standpoint, but from I want to renovate the house area and kind of fix it up a little bit and make it a little more cozy, for the family. And the shop area is really cool. Dude. Like big, like enclosed, part of the shed is the shop side of it. And
you can shoot in there, right? Like it's big enough to shoot.
You could probably, you probably could. You could probably get, it's 1,200 square feet, the enclosed part. So yeah, you could. I didn't think about that actually, but it's a place to store our gear and it'll be kind of our war room, for Scott and I to set up shop and have our camera gear and our sink crusher closets and all this stuff.
Just the convenience and the time savings, like once you get all that stuff set up.
Yeah. So I'm very excited. Like I said, I keep saying it, very nervous.
Appropriately so, like when you're the head of a household, like these decisions that you make, like they impact the future of your family.
Well, you say that she and I had to personally, guarantee the financial side of it. So you're signing documents that say, hey, if you fall short on your payments, your house is up for dibs here. That's some serious business. And I know there's plenty of people that do this stuff obviously every day and at much bigger, but when it's your first, and it's very nerve wracking. And obviously we've done this. We have a home, here in the St. Louis area, and we have that financial responsibility. But this is the next level and next step, and it's very exciting.
A cool new chapter in your family's history.
It is.
Like this is like a real delineation before and after the farm.
Yeah. And so I just, I call Dad every once in a while, and I called him today about the insurance side of it, getting advice. It's like, all right, so I can insure this, and what do you set the premiums at, or what's the home value? And it's been appraised, but then you got to decide what you feel like, it's worth putting down on it.
Right. Yeah. What you're comfortable, what you can live with. And
if the damn thing burned down tomorrow, what the value is and all that stuff. So that's why it was, we've had a good time with it, but that's why I said I'm making big boy decisions, because these are really not things that I've had experience with. So It's a new chapter in that regard, like learning everything about it.
What is escrow?
Yeah, it's just out of my league, in that regard. So learning a lot there, and been working with some great people on the funding side. A company called Buckley & Funding over in Illinois, and they kind of specialize in this, and and so that's been a good experience. And
cool.
Anytime I've had questions, I've been able to get some good answers. Tucker Corey on the insurance side over in Illinois, and he's done some stuff for us, and as a company goes. Sure. And so it's, there's been a lot of people that I've leaned on to ask questions of.
It's times like this when you appreciate people who specialize in things that numb your brain.
Yeah.
Like I could never wade through 30 pages of a deed or whatever.
Yeah. And I've done I've done that stuff before, but not where I guess the stakes are as high as it's just like, there's no net here.
Yeah. You don't want to skip through something and sign it and then be like, oh, what was that again?
Yeah. So,
when do you take possession?
Tomorrow. By noon, it'll be mine. Wow. Went out there on Sunday, my brother-in-law and I, he kind of specializes in HVAC and knows that world. And so we looked at that side of it, because it actually has central air, but it doesn't have central heat. It's got a furnace type thing that's hooked to, natural gas, and no, not natural gas, propane, sorry, rather. And anyways, so that's not hooked to the vents. Like it's just centralized. It's in the middle of the house, and you got to leave all the doors open. And I thought, I bet that gets kind of cold. They said it'll run you out of there. If you really crank it up, it'll run you out. It gets so hot. But so anyways, he looked at the air, and there's a little, piece that you can buy for $180, and you can convert this thing into being central air and central heat. And, so I'm like, all right, we're going to do that. Of course there's a mouse problem there. So I got to figure out that, or else my wife will never go. So I know I'm not going to be able to totally take control of that, but I got to figure out how to suppress it.
Let a few snakes loose. You'll be good.
And we're not doing that. Yep. So we'll get a cat.
I got good news and I got bad news.
Yeah. No more mice. We have snakes.
We're loaded up on black snakes.
So
sorry about that.
But anyways, I'm real excited.
Well, congratulations in advance.
Yep.
So by the time people are hearing this, you will already be a big boy.
Yeah. And surprisingly, I don't know who made the meme or whatever it was. No, not a meme, I guess, but the Instagram reel that Tree Outdoors used. And
did you see the video? The podcast.
Yeah. They're like, man, it must be really big, whatever this is. Somebody said we're pregnant. I'm like, no.
Oh God. Yeah. That would be terrifying.
Yeah. I think you're going to say terrible. Terrifying.
Yeah. More scary than that.
Yeah. So. Scarier than buying a farm.
Yes.
Honestly, the thing I'm most scared about, I'm not worried about the hunting side. We're going to get that dialed in. Although there's a lot that I have no idea. Scott and I talked about. It's like, all right, we don't know how to plant corn or beans. We've never had any experience with any of those types of things. Obviously, the green plot stuff, I think we got a beat on, but Now I got to figure out how to get a tractor. There's a huge
All
yard
the
on this
stuff.
thing. So
Just mowing the grass.
the upkeep. That's honestly,
Yeah.
that's the stuff that has kept me up. Like, what if the pipes freeze? We're supposed to have a cold winter. What if, because I'm going to be there every day. And so
Yeah, it's
those
like
are the
running
things.
2 households.
Yeah, they're scaring the crap out of me. So more than anything, those are the things that I got to dial in and figure out and get a beat on. And when we were up there yesterday, there's a cellar and like a tornado shelter or whatever. And it's got standing water in it. There's a sump pump. The sump pump's supposed to be running all the time. And it was like clogged. It's like, it looks like a snake pit. Like, I'm talking like Indiana Jones. Like,
Can only imagine.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Who's living down here?
So I was like, you got to go down there every time you go here. I'm like, shit. Not trying to sound like a weenie, but I hate snakes. That looked like a snake pit to me.
Leave the lacrosse boots there by the door. And
so a snake can be
throw
in it.
them on. That's a great idea.
Yeah, exactly. So those are the things. It's got well water. It's got lagoons. It's got like things that I'm not really accustoed to.
Yeah.
But
you'll figure it out. It's
that's
like
exactly right.
You'll
figure it out as we go.
It won't be a big deal.
The pipes burst here. We'll figure that out too. We're going to try not to have that happen.
That'll be like a whole separate adventure.
Even that, there's a toilet in the shop and there's a sink, but the sink drain is just it's not even a pipe. It's like a plastic tube that just goes outside.
I've heard of older houses that have that. There's just like a drain field in the yard.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay. And so the water was shut off to that, but the toilet, it still got it had a little bit in the tank and in the bowl and it was blue. And I'm like, did he clean it? And then under the sink, there's antifreeze. It's like, okay, I get it now. There's antifreeze in here. So the lines are drained, but there's antifreeze in the toilet so it doesn't freeze up.
Yeah.
It's that type of stuff that I'm like, OMG.
You're going to learn some stuff.
Yeah.
Big time.
Bigly. It'll be huge. Yeah. So
nice.
Anyways,
I'm
that's my
happy
news.
for you. I'm happy for you guys. Like I think the kids are going to love it. Like fishing in the pond. Like
Yeah.
A lot of good memories about to be made.
Yeah. Excited.
And if it doesn't work out, maybe we'll give it away for like the 40-year anniversary of Drury Outdoors or something.
There you go.
So there's your net.
I don't know that I'll be giving it away for free, Tim.
Smart.
It's the difference between Terry and Mark and myself. Giving
altruism.
people. I'm trying to keep.
Sweet. All right. Well, yeah, more farm adventures to come, I'm sure.
I have a feeling. Yeah. I'm thinking we're going to create a little YouTube, like my first farm, like a YouTube series of my misadventures. You think this podcast has some misadventures? Wait till I'm on the farm on a daily basis.
Some of them will cost some money.
Yeah. So not looking forward to that either.
Awesome. Well, just another reason for people to stay tuned to the show.
All right.
As it evolves. Thank you to everyone who's
Yeah.
hopping into the Rack Pack. We continue to get more folks in there, which is a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
So,
All right. Until next time.
Smell you later.
Peace out. Temperatures are going to be dropping. Perfect conditions for the skinny field. Got to focus on those afternoon hunts. Northwest Tree Stand, 5 p.m.
It's the easiest decision you'll make this season. Get ahead of your game with DeerCast.
Big boy. Big boy.
We're big.
2 bigs.
We need a soundboard. Bite. I'm a big boy. That needs to be a soundboard. Bite.
Who, like, is there a movie reference for that?
I
Or
came
just
up
pull
with
it
it
from
on
our
my
own? Wow. Team Big Boy.
Yeah, but I don't think he ever says, I'm a big boy now. No. Maybe type that in and see if anything comes up.
I don't know if I want to search that.
Ah, good point.
Oh, weird. It's in my history.
I should know. That's our tag.
What is
Toys R Us, right?
Oh, no. It's a diaper. Mommy, wow. I'm a big kid now.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV was brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's.